Hello, 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 world. I am Amber Renee Elliott, helping women entrepreneurs who struggle to shine in their business, transform how they're showing up in the market to 10x their sales, and amplify their influence, impact, and income. And this is Superstar Sales Secrets. Really excited to be launching this new podcast. This is episode 1. And I'm really excited to really dive deep and to share how to have supernatural success in sales in the marketplace. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is not something that occurred to me overnight. It's not something that I got from a book, but it's something that the Lord endowed into me. And I went on a long and challenging journey to uncover these secrets to share with more women throughout the entire world. So let's dive deep into it. My sales journey began about 5 or so years ago. Interesting fact about me is that I'm a professional dancer. I have been dancing for 28 years. I've been teaching for about 14 years. I still dance, I still train, I still develop others, and that's a whole nother segment of business that I am called to. But this is all about how I dived into sales. And so about 6 years ago, in 2019, I was called. I felt the calling to start my own dance studio. And so I'm going to dive into entrepreneurship. I was like, I come into agreement with this. The man who I fell in love with was like, I really see you with the studio. And I was like, I never thought about that. And I was like, let's go for it. That journey led me into really doing all the research and development in sales, because you can't have a business that's successful without learning how to sell. And that's what I quickly learned. So I started studying from some of the greats as best as I could, and it still took me a while to really, obviously, for things to take off. You know, it just didn't happen overnight like I really wanted to. I started to sell offers online in the midst of COVID, and during this time I was presented with an opportunity to enter into network marketing, and I took it. I was like, you know what, this is a risk I'm willing to take. Let me see how this goes. Within 2 weeks, I found myself elevating up the ladder of different titles and levels of promotion that you can experience in network marketing. If you've ever been in network marketing, you know what I'm talking about. Within 2 weeks, I was hitting the goals that I had set for 3 months, and I found myself with a team. And with that team, I'm like, I'm wanting to transfer, to them what I was doing, because the truth is I was doing what my uplines and everyone else in the network marketing industry was not necessarily teaching. I was doing the opposite. I was not doing what they were saying you should do. And because of that, I wanted my team to, do those same results. But who knows, sometimes it's hard to teach other people what you have done until you've really understood and I guess brought to light the strategy. And I really I wasn't even fully aware of what this special thing was that I had, that I was innately and inherently doing. Okay, so then from there, another network marketing opportunity is presented to me. And this time, within less than 30 days, I would say about 3.5 weeks, I have a team that's that's 4 times, the size of the team that I had in my first network marketing opportunity. And I made had my first 5-figure month. First of all, I'm selling something that I ain't create. I'm selling something that literally my investment, I want to say my initial investment was like $200 and something. And out of that, I was able to produce over $12,000. To me, that was a big deal. Huge deal. Because first of all, just from talking, just from posting videos online, just from engaging with people, and again, doing something different that I did not see other people doing. I was just doing what I just knew to do. It was just in me. And again, I didn't know how to tell other people about it. But I got more excited to do so, because I'm like, this is crazy. This is the second time now. When you start to see results repeating themselves, but at a higher level, it's like, I got something going here. And from there, I started to dive deeper into entrepreneurship. I pivoted completely, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to teach this thing that is that I feel like is innate to me, that I have mastered, that I inherently master, right? It's just a gift that I got, and I want to help other women tap into it and do it. But the truth is, again, I still had I had not really become aware, fully enlightened to what this special thing that I had and how to share with other people. But that didn't stop me from trying to sell it, okay? I was on fire. And then I find myself developing, 4-figure offers for an hour of my time, offering consultations and selling them. But what a lot of people did not know at this time, people who had some sense, who were in my life, were aware, but I wasn't aware, and neither was the community that I was involved in. I was in the midst of an identity crisis. And I'm not just saying like that, like, oh, I was having an identity crisis. I straight up was going by a different name. I remember I had the papers ready to even change my name. I was into a lot of dark things. I was into the occult. I was a part of a cult. I was into witchcraft and the dark arts and idolatry, numerology. I was addicted to weed at the time. I was smoking marijuana every day. I was even drinking wine on a regular basis, daily, honestly. So I had multiple addictions going on. I had even experimented with psychedelics at that time. And so I was literally just so outside of myself. I had lost my identity. I was seeking my identity in other things, whether it was men, whether it was the occult, new age spirituality, the cult that I was a part of, and other people. And so therefore I was also getting the wrong counsel. And so I had no relationship with God. I was completely independent from God. And the truth is, in hindsight, I know that what I was operating in and operating with in sales to produce the supernatural results in sales that I was seeing, it came from God. Because God will give you a gift, and he's so sovereign, and he keeps his word. He's not going to just take it from you. He put it inside of you, and he's going to allow you to use that gift, but it's up to us to use it for right or for wrong. And I was using it for all the wrong reasons at that time. And because of this, I was not able to sustain the success that I was seeing in sales, and I was not able to scale the success I was seeing in sales. And so I was dealing with an identity crisis, but I also was dealing with something that I had never ever really experienced before, and that was debilitating anxiety. And that, I can tell you, knowing that all things are spiritual, I was bound. I was dealing with, I had come into agreement with dark spirits, right? The kingdom of darkness. And I was working for the kingdom of darkness, because even in what I was selling and producing, it was an alignment. It was literally teaching and rooted in new age spirituality. And so while I could do the sale, I could close the sale, I couldn't even help anybody. Y'all, I couldn't deliver anything valuable to people. And so there was no recurring customers. And those who were recurring customers, they were just as in the dark as I was. I was the blind leading the blind. And so I say this all to say something happened. It was supernatural, and it was from God. And it was no hallucination, no daydream, but I had an open eye vision. I remember walking into my room at the place that I was living at the time, living with my father. And I'm walking into my room, and all of a sudden I'm on a stage, and I'm in front of a crowd of too many women to number. And I get a supernatural download into my mind and my heart of what I was teaching them and what God was calling me to teach. I finally was able to know what it was that was allowing me to experience these results in sales that I was experiencing. And I'm like, okay, I got it. Now I can go teach it. But even still, I couldn't even articulate it, because it was a God-given strategy. And because I was not in alignment with God, but it had declared independence from him and rebelled against him, right, in his kingdom, I could not articulate exactly what God was calling me to do in the marketplace through the vehicle of sales. So I'm like basically running after this vision. And what that looked like for me was investing in more wrong counsel. I got into a point where I invested like $40,000 into wrong counsel. And I remember telling my family members that, and they're like, where'd you get that money? Sales. Like I could sell anything. And I was selling well. But like I said, couldn't sustain it, and I couldn't scale it. And honestly, I couldn't even serve people well with it through sales. So by the grace of God, I find myself in a business challenge with Myron Govey. Make More Offers challenge. I want to say this was the second one. and the second one that he had done. It was very new. It was in the midst of COVID. And because I was so in darkness, I still couldn't really receive what he was giving me, but I could feel the transformation beginning to happen in me. And I even wanted to invest in his offer at the same time, the higher ticket offer at the end of this challenge, and I couldn't. And I remember having a conversation with him where he's like, yeah, you shouldn't do this. And for me, even that was beginning to transform me, because here was somebody I was experiencing sales in a different way. And what I had a glimpse of through him took me a while to really understand and see. Literally took me months. And so again, I'm still chasing after this business, still trying to figure out, still trying to make offers and create and produce offers that can serve women in the marketplace. But it was all through based on the wrong foundation, based on the principles of idolatry and new age spirituality. So months go by and I'm like, I'm gonna do this challenge again. And when I tell you guys, by day 4, and after having a one-on-one moment with this man who had built his business upon biblical principles, a millionaire, I'm having a one-on-one with him, and I'm trying to communicate, what this offer is, and I'm doing my best. But even at the same time, because like I said, because I was independent from the kingdom of God, I needed the language of God. I needed his word to even understand. I needed to have understanding of his word to understand what he had gifted me and was calling me to do in the marketplace. But even in my struggle to communicate this, I was able to get across at some point to this coach, to this man in business, what God was calling me to do. Even though I couldn't even say God was calling me to do at the time. I was just, I didn't know where it was coming from, the universe, spirit, whatever. He tells me I need to be charging $10,000 per person for what I'm offering. That blew my mind. It literally rocked my world, and that's where the real transformation began to get anchored in me, because what he had transferred to me was a belief. It was a belief system, it was a way of thinking, and a way of seeing myself through how he saw me. And he could only see me the way he saw me and what I had possession of, this gifting, because he understood who he was in Christ. And that's when I was sold. I was sold on God, and I was sold on the kingdom, and I received the salvation of Jesus Christ that night. And by the next day, I heard the Holy Spirit tell me, that's not your name. The name I was going by, that's not your name. And I completely denounced New Age spirituality. I completely denounced the kingdom of darkness. And I remember publicly proclaiming, God has called me to serve the women of the kingdom, and I'm going to do it. And even still, I didn't know what that was, right? But that was the beginning of my transformation. I first had to transform my belief. Then I had to bow to the kingdom of God in order to build what he was calling me to build. And that led to me understanding that God was calling me to sales. I just felt it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to dive deep into this. And so I shut down my business. I'm like, let me start from the ground up. And so I entered into sales, like literally just getting employed, getting a job, getting a job. And so I entered into high-end retail because I still wanted to be, I didn't want to just sell at Meijer, at your local store. I wanted to sell what I believe was the highest in the market. It was a way for me to get in right quickly into high-end sales. And so it was like high-end retail. Within a month in the department, I'm the top saleswoman in our department. After 10 weeks, I'm see what I'm generating in revenues over $100,000. And so for me, that was my first, like, okay, you have successfully sold over $100,000, generated over $100,000 in revenue in less than 10 weeks. So from there, I even push a little bit further. I become an inside sales rep for a company, which is my first remote sales position. And this is where I'm cold calling y'all. I'm making calls to 1,000 business in the course of 2 weeks. I entered into training. It's a 12-week training. You have to graduate in 12 weeks. I do it in less than about 4 weeks, okay? I'm the top salesperson out of all the training groups. And this is one of those companies where the training classes are about 40, 30 people in each training class, and there's about 5 to 6 training classes. So out of hundreds of people, I was number one. In less than 4 weeks, I end up being recruited to the top performing sales team for the company in my region. And I'm on this team and I'm making multiple sales a day. Only thing is I hate the company. I hate the culture, and I hate the coaching that I'm getting, because once again, I'm doing what I was not taught. After that experience that I had with God, that vision. And after I had that encounter through, someone who was literally a vessel for God in a business coaching, I understood, okay, I got to go out into the sales world and test what God has called me to do, which is why I decided to start from the ground up in high-end retail and now as an inside sales rep. And so I'm still doing what I know works. I'm literally like ignoring the coaching, the training, and it's fine because I'm still making them money, right? No one's going to fire me, but I end up quitting once I get another offer as an account executive for the company that I work for now. It's tech sales. It's a different game. Didn't even know what I was being called to. Didn't even know what I was like literally, what this was that I was being introduced to, what God was literally giving me the opportunity to do and to refine my skills with, but I'm all in. And this time it's a little bit different because the results are even at a higher level, right? And if you know anything about tech sales is really, really different because you're doing high-end retail. You're doing tech sales is very, very different because what you're doing is solution sales, right? You're selling a solution to someone, and ultimately God knew what he was doing. Obviously he knows everything, but I can see now, you're setting me up to learn how to sell what you have put on inside of me, right? This framework that you have given me, this gift that you have given me, and you have revealed to me the framework, the pattern, the structure in which I am to share it and serve it to the marketplace. But you want me to learn how to master solution sales. So I'm mastering solution sales, and the training is a little bit different for this job. You're not automatically on the floor in the midst of training. You have to go through training completely before you enter the sales floor. But once I did, first quarter, I did numbers that no one else had done. I had success in metrics that no one else had hit. I had hit records that even my own manager, he was the record holder at the time, surpassed him, almost basically doubling his numbers. Of course, what will most people do when they see that from the outside? That was luck. I knew it wasn't luck. So I did it again the next quarter. By quarter 3, I am up for promotion. There's an opportunity to become a sales manager, and I'm like, am I ready for this? Am I ready for this? And I just go for it, and they end up picking someone else, someone who has 10 years experience, right? And I'm like, okay, maybe God is telling me, it's time. It's time for me to leave. It's time for me to just leave this company and go do this other thing. At that same time, I'm literally like preparing to go to be at the last in-person conference that this top salesman, Myron Golden, I believe he's the greatest salesman of our time, he's doing the Offer Mastery Challenge Offer Mastery Live. So I go to Florida, I'm like, I gotta go. And during this time that I'm going, my boss's boss reaches out to me. He's like, yo, this offer is still, it turns out the person who we hired, who we thought would be more experienced than you, 10 years experience in the game, he's not working out. Are you still up for the job? I tell them no. I turn them down. Because I'm at this point, I'm aware, I'm aware of what God has called me to do. I know what I want to do. But the truth is, it still wasn't time. And after some wise counsel, I end up reaching back out to them within a couple of hours saying, yes, I'm still open to the position. They end up having to interview me again just for, I guess, protocol, and I'm offered the position. And here I am now. About a year or so later, after developing others, my team has become one of the top performing teams. I'm helping other people duplicate results. But the truth of the matter is, God has called me to serve women entrepreneurs in business. And there's only so much you can do when you're working for another company. And God has really called me out now to shine in the marketplace for such a time as this, to help women in business like you who are struggling to shine in your business, who are struggling to sell in your business, transform how you're showing up in the marketplace to 10x your sales through the secret that I can now finally share. After like 5 years, y'all. Finally, I'm really excited, and that's what we're going to be diving into today. So what is the secret to supernatural sales? You must become a superstar. 'Cause SUPERSTAR. This ultimately is an acronym for showing up powerfully and exceptionally, reaching and serving the audience righteously. Be a superstar in the marketplace, showing up powerfully and exceptionally, reaching and serving the audience righteously. So let's break it down even further. I'm gonna use red. Showing up. This is all about having supernatural identity. Powerfully, supernatural performance. Exceptionally, supernatural production. Reaching, supernatural presence. Serving, supernatural service. The audience, supernatural sales. And then the last, and probably one of my favorites, supernatural solutioning. Now, what does this all mean? So when it comes to supernatural identity, this is all about who are you being? Who are you showing up as, right? Because how you show up is what you're going to be, do, have, all of that. It comes from first being. You can't have until you be. So being. Supernatural performance. Doing. What are you doing? And supernatural performance is you're doing things at a supernatural level. You're being at a supernatural level. You're doing at a supernatural level. And supernatural production is producing. What are you producing? We've got to be producing at a supernatural level in the marketplace to produce supernatural sales. Supernatural presence. This is all about oh, I see. Okay. Supernatural presence. This is all about how you're expressing, which is huge. Supernatural service. How are you serving your audience? Sales. How are you persuading? Supernatural persuasion. Like a lot of times people make sales like really complicated, but it's really about the mastering the art and the ability to persuade. And then supernatural solutioning, which is ultimately right solutioning. It's your ability to offer the right thing to people. It's the ability to solve people's problems in the right way. And we're going to be diving deep into each one of these in this series because this is the key to have supernatural sales. A lot of people don't understand the power in standing out in the marketplace, and specifically women. And I see so many women in business who are struggling because they're hiding. They're dimming their light. They really don't even know how to stand out and shine in a way that's unique to them and unique to the divine design that God has created them in. And so when we align who we are in the practical world and in the physical world with who we are in the spiritual world, that's where the supernatural can manifest in our lives. And so stay tuned because we're going to be diving deep into each of these so that you can go from struggling to shining your business to showing up as a superstar in the marketplace and 10xing your sales. Stay tuned.